I think I'll start by saying that I am a solidarity activist. Now, I don't know what that means to you, but hopefully by the time I'm done, you'd want to be one too. And, well, I'll start at the beginning, like all of us start. I had no choice about who I was, where I was born. I'm the son, a child of parents of two different countries, lived in various countries. I never really belonged anywhere. As far as those people were, wherever I am, I don't really belong. And, but an interesting thing was that wherever I went, when we lived in America, I was welcomed. I was different, and that meant I was interesting. So my differences were very interesting to people. I was always very welcome, very embraced. It was a great adventure for me. And then we moved to the States permanently, and everything fell apart. Because you see, when I came here, I became an immigrant. And it turns out that's not such a good thing. Who would have thought? And it revealed something to me. I had a very precipitous fall in my life. Because when I was in Central America, because of my height and the tone of my skin, I was at the top of society. I was always welcomed. I was implicitly trusted. My opinions were valuable. I was so comfortable, I didn't even have to think about those things. And then I came here, and suddenly, all of that was stripped from me. I wasn't trusted anymore. I was the reason our country was in trouble. So I had a precipitous fall. And then I went to terra incognita, unknown lands. That's not Spanish, it's Latin. But, and that is, I went to college, the white world. And there, I was even lower than I had been before. And I kept hearing this thing. I discovered this thing called tolerance. And I kept hearing about it. So I went to the dictionary to figure out what tolerance really meant. And it said the ability or willingness to tolerate, particularly opinions or behaviors one disagrees with. So I thought, well, that's not really welcoming. I am being tolerated by people. Doesn't feel very good, especially when I was the one doing the tolerating before. It was a huge fall, and it was terrible. And then it reminded me of something I was reading. So in this read, this is something Churchill said about the struggle in the early 40s. He said, now, this is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end. But it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. And it hit me. Tolerance is a good end of the beginning. See, I think tolerance has taken us as far as it could possibly take us in our country. It has taken us as far as saying, I'm okay as long as you exist and stay from me. If you don't interrupt my life too much, I'm all right. That's as far as tolerance has taken us. And it's wonderful because when we think about where we came from before, tolerance has brought us a long way. But it is just the end of the beginning. And we need to know that. So now, if you are sold on this whole tolerance thing and you think it's a good thing, then what I have to say to you is stop it. Don't use that anymore, because it's going to take you nowhere. You need to move from that. Now, in order to understand this, maybe we think tolerance, we get tolerance from probably our Enlightenment history. It's something like, it's through that, right? So we get, for example, this live and let live understanding. It's sort of like an Epicurean sense of as long as I'm not in pain, you could exist. And then we went to this weird thing we get probably from Hobbes, which talks about the nature of humanity, and one that says that every time we interact with each other, we are always trying to acquire power. So therefore, every time there's an interaction, there's a power struggle. And because we're bright, we moderated that a little bit with Kant's reasoning. So we said, well, because we could reason our way out of our human nature of struggle and find ways to deal with our struggles. Maybe this will be easier. We know other people exist. We know they're different from us. We are fully aware that we have trouble every time we interact with each other, but we don't really want to do much about it. Tolerance. And it's taken us as far as it can. So where do we go next? This is where I like to invite you to come with me and discover the wonders of being an activist. But not just any kind of activist, right? Something deeper, more profound, that goes beyond things like, you know, posting "I stand in solidarity with" on your Facebook page is wonderful. Doing the 5Ks, if you run it, great. If you walk it, just as well. And that gets you closer to solidarity, but it's not quite there yet, see? So maybe the way I could explain it is from my past. One of the words you could use in Spanish for solidarity is acompañamiento. That's a long word, right? Acompañamiento. It means solidarity, but if we translate it directly, it means to walk alongside. And I love that because it holds the entirety of the meaning of this thing. See, because tolerance is just the beginning of the end. Tolerance gets us to say, okay, I know it's bad for you, good luck. But to walk alongside is different. Now, you know, the problem is that if it does not exist in your world, it's very difficult to believe that it actually exists, right? So there are a lot of people who don't think a whole lot of the suffering in our country is happening because it does not exist. It does not exist in their world. So it's hard to believe. Therefore, acompañamiento, to walk alongside, would help those people open their eyes and see what is happening. Walk into the place where these things are actually in existence. Now, how do we do that? Well, let's take this 3-point thing I told you about, our enlightenment inheritance, and shift it into solidarity, right? So we started with this Epicurean sense of live and let live. And I think we need to grow out of that into a Jesus sense of life. And what I mean by that is that in the teachings, in the philosophical teachings of Jesus, we get this interesting definition of the worth of humanity. Right? Through these teachings, your status, your amount of money, the color of your skin have absolutely nothing to do with your value as a human. And that's what Epicureanism says, I value me above other things. So that's why live and let live. This Jesus sense of value says, I may have more than you, but I'm not worth more than you as a human being. So we take that, and then we take our second understanding, this Hobbes' very materialistic understanding of the life, the struggle of life, and we bring it to something more ancient than Hobbes and just as developed, and that is the Southern African understanding of Ubuntu, right? I am because we are. And what that does is that it shifts the struggle from fighting for power against each other to fighting for power with each other. You see, that's an amazing difference. We are no longer in a struggle against each other. We are in a struggle for each other, with each other. And then the third one, I think, will be actually a deeper and better understanding of what Kant was telling us anyway. And that is from his categorical imperatives. Probably the second one that says, every time you treat humanity, never treat them as a means, but always and at the same time as an end. It's a little mixed. What it means really is that whenever you encounter another individual, the relationship with them must always be moderated by their humanity. There's always a human, just like me, on the other end. So you see that transfer we're doing, this shift to solidarity is one that takes us from saying, live and let live, to let's figure out how to live together. One that says a power struggle between us, to one that says a power struggle for us. And lastly, one that says that whenever we encounter someone, we are encountering the very nature of humanity. That shatters worlds. But in order for us to be able to move towards a solidarity perspective of the world, we have got to walk alongside. Because what that does is that it reveals to us a world we cannot possibly see otherwise. Because you see, however much you want to be with those people, however much you want to support them, or however much you want those people to know how hard it is here, if you don't live together, you will never see it. And if it doesn't happen in your world, it is very difficult to believe it actually exists. Therefore, I encourage you, I invite you to join me in becoming solidarity activists. The beauty of that is that you don't have to pick it anywhere. You don't have to make signs. If your handwriting is terrible, don't worry about it. You don't even have to go to special places. Though if you could, you should. Right? But what you do have to do is, first, redefine how you value others. When you encounter others, the color of their skin, how much they have, the clothes they have, even the music they listen to, and I know there's terrible music, but even the music they listen to does not matter and have nothing to do with their value. When you are looking at your community, the worry is not, who am I going to have to step on so I could succeed, but rather, how can we succeed? And then, as you encounter the other, always and at the same time, make sure you see the humanity on the other side. If you do those three things yourself and practice them, because they're not easy. I'm telling you, because I went from tolerating to one who's being tolerated. Now, let me tell you, the other side of tolerance, the one who receives the tolerance, is not as pretty as people think it is. It's not great to be at a place and know that you're just being tolerated. And that's the reason why we still have a conflict. We have only gone as far as, okay, as long as your existence doesn't discomfort me too much, I'm all right with it. That's tolerance. It's beautiful. If you are on the other side of that, like if you think you're better than others, then please walk towards tolerance. But if you're already there, stop it. Stop it. It does nothing for you anymore. Come and join me as a solidarity activist. It'll change your world. And the best part about it is that in solidarity, your world is our world. And that will give us a new land. Thank you.